Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scouts. Today it's all about Sky Sports Fantasy Football. There's £50,000 up for grabs for the winner. Could be one of us. I say that every week, maybe. But it's looking a little less likely after certain moves we've made. My name is Joe, and joining me ahead of Game Week 22's fixtures in Sky is Luke. Luke, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Joe. Mixed week for me. I started off because it was almost a two-parter, wasn't it, in Sky?
Yeah.
So the initial fixtures I did very poorly in. Went a bit differential. Had my captain on Cancelo for the Saturday, which in hindsight was a bit of a rookie error. We didn't
Yeah.
get to see the team sheets. Obviously, he didn't play, so that
No.
was not ideal.
No.
And the following day, Salah was obviously the heavy favourite for captain. I decided to go Maddison, and he got an assist, fair enough. But obviously Salah got a brace, man of the match, etc.
Yeah.
So he hauled, and obviously when that happens, and you're not on these top guys for the captain, it really affects you. So I dropped from, I think it was around 47, something like that, and I dropped to 100th in the leaderboard. So not a massive drop, but at that top 100, getting points back is so tough. So
Yeah.
that's a significant loss, and it really felt like that's me out of the running now. That's me done. However, in the second part of the week, I clawed it back somewhat. Basically, a lot of my differentials did pretty well. Obviously, I had Bruno Fernandes captain,
Yeah.
like virtually everyone will have had.
Yeah,
I'm
apart from
assuming-
seven people that still don't own him in the top
Oh,
1,000.
okay. Fair enough. I pity them then.
Yeah.
I know how they feel after the Salah
Well,
thing.
they're not in the top 1,000 probably anymore.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Yeah. And then on the Wednesday, I went for Cancelo again, but this time obviously we got to see the lineup that he started. And luckily he outscored Salah. I felt that's a bit of a different situation there. I felt like you could maybe try that one. There was even some rumours Salah might have been out, so I didn't feel like risking it. So that worked out okay, but really my differentials, well, I don't know if Antonio's a differential anymore, but he scored, not scored, he returned, sorry, and Maddison obviously returned, Watkins returned for me, so all these little bits and pieces that quite a lot of the other people don't have, and ended up back to 57th, I think, or 52nd, something like that, so almost back to where I started at the beginning of the game week. So it feels like if I'd have gone with the crowd in the first part of it, I could have actually jumped up quite a few places, but in the end, after that disastrous start, I'm happy to be about on the median. Obviously, we've still got Spurs and Chelsea to go tonight. I don't know when this video is going out, but we're doing it before that game. So obviously that can make a difference as well. There'll be some Suns versus some Thiago Silvas and the like. And
Yeah, what we do, it's a timestamp. This has been recorded before the Chelsea Spurs game. So I'm not going to say, get loads of Chelsea players in, just in case they'll get injured by the time this goes out. But so that sort of timestamps that. What we're going to do is we'll put a picture up of your team shortly and see what you're doing for Game Week 22. We've also got our overhaul thoughts. I've got a patchwork quilt of an image of the remaining fixtures sorted by difficulty. So that's we don't know what all the single game days are going to be. We don't know the particular when the fixtures are going to fall, but we can have a roundabout idea, and at the same time we can look at those fixtures that are there and thinking, right, who's got tricky fixtures, who's got good fixtures over that long period, who in theory will save our transfers down the line, so we won't have to get them in and out. We can just sort of be reliant on some good fixtures coming. I'll also put my team up. It's very different to Luke's. It's in a different position, still in the top 1,000, but very similar moves I made to Luke as well. So we'll come to that in a minute. So Luke, just before we came on air, you were having a quick look at the passing and tackling, shots, saves, all the tier 2 kings and man of the matches and things. So any names particularly stand out so far this week?
It was just, the one that always is my favourite is the passes tier 2. It's the most reliable bonus point that you can count on throughout the season, I think. And obviously we had 2 games for a lot of people, so I've kind of just made note of the people who've got it twice, and there's some obvious names there. Diaz, obviously. Laporte, he got it twice as well. Obviously played both the games. The likes of Stones, etc., obviously got it as well, but they only played one game, so they obviously don't feature at the top there. But yeah, there's a few names, but the ones that sort of stand out to me, or certainly one I got it twice, was Thiago, who we've mentioned a couple of times. Him and his mate, Rodri for Man City, who are largely the same sort of player in terms of terms of their bonus potential. Thiago actually also got tackles tier 2 twice as well. So we got 6 points in bonus in both separate games, so 12 points in bonus, which is it's really good. 2 assists a game, basically. Yeah, it's fantastic. So he's one to keep an eye on, because obviously Overhaul's coming up, and often we go for the sort of the players like the Antonios, the Madisons, who have got that explosive potential, but in any given week they can give you the 2 pointers, and Thiago's just going to tick over and give you the 3s and 5s. So he's certainly a consideration for me. Elsewhere, tackles tier 2, there was Luke Ayling. He started to get back in the bonus. He's been good all season for that, really, but he dipped a little bit recently. Back in the frame, though, twice he got it in both his games. I already mentioned Thiago. Ones of note, he only got it once because he only played once, but Pereira, straight back into the Leicester team, and there he is with his tackles tier 2. He's a Sky favourite, as you know, Joe.
Yes.
Often hits these bonus points. So he's one. I mean, obviously, we don't know his situation and whether he's starting. It might actually be one for next season, but it's nice to see that as soon as he's taking to the field, he's still capable of getting these tackles again. So it looks like he hasn't lost that part of his game, at least. And then the saves tier 2, there was only a few got it one time, but the ones that are appealing are obviously Martinez. The guy's unbelievable. Nick Pope, obviously another one who's in the frame for Overhaul for me. There's a few others like Johnston, Meslier got it, which is great. But from these names, I think Pope and Martinez are the two we'd look at probably for Overhaul.
Now, the goalkeeper, weirdly, is quite important in Sky, because you don't want to be moving them around. And as we'll look with the season ticker coming up, so they do have some double game weeks, or well, you would say in FPL are double game weeks, but obviously in Sky, extra games to be played out. So Martinez is useful from that regard. But it's a sort of a post-Overhaul of 2 halves, and we'll have a look at the patchwork quilt of season ticker, because it's the first half really up until about game week 30 where the fixtures are great, and then they just they sort of nosedive apart from game week 33 or 4 or so, where basically the West Bromwich Albion game's great, but the rest of the fixtures look awful. So I'm going to be relying on saves tiers there, because I'm not sure there's going to be that many clean sheets with Martinez in the latter part of the post-Overhaul, but we'll come to that shortly. But yeah, I'm not sure what to do with the goalkeeper. I remember last season switching from Henderson to Pope post-Overhaul, and that was effective. So it may well be that I make a goalkeeper move at some point.
Yeah, I think given the fact that Man City we're told are due to probably have extra games, because these double game week games are going to get thrown in there. It seems wise maybe to start with Ederson, and then, like you say, move on to. Pope's the one I'd probably want to get just for those single match days. We know he's the king of them, or a Martinez later on. And I know we say we don't want to make goalkeeper transfers. We don't, but the goalkeepers are scoring fantastically well. And every year, getting your goalkeeper is so important for Sky, and often there's not a standout. The beginning of this season, there wasn't really a standout until Martinez started to show his head above the others, and he's probably been the main guy. But now, Pope's come back into it, and Ederson's obviously started not that great, but of late, I mean,
I've had Ederson as sort of just loading up on City defenders. He's been great. I wish I'd captained him a couple of times, actually. I captained John Stones when he didn't turn up when you captained Cancelo. So, similar move. And I should have just stuck with Ederson. That's why I got him in, because he's reliable. So, oh well. Okay, so let's have a look at our teams then. So you talked a bit about your team just now. But for the benefit of those listening on the podcast, you've got Meslier in goal, Stones, Cancelo, Diaz. So complete City back 3 there. Then you've got Antonio, Gundogan, Maddison and Fernandes. So a mixture of some differentials there, as you were talking about. And then you've got Son in tonight, who is captain for tonight, and presumably going to be your, obviously looking at West Brom as well, game coming up next game week. Salah, who disappointed last night, but we're going to be discussing on the Scoutcast this week. Perhaps we sort of should have known that because of Brighton's underlying stats defensively. Watkins has been a bit of a star for you as well. So I'm presuming you're not going to make any changes before Overhaul. No. You're just looking to get these lads out, and then we're going to Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, all I'm hoping for now is that I can stay where I am and my 11 guys see it over the line. I'm not even too bothered about rank shifts or anything at this point, as long as I can stay where I am, because, I just want no injuries, which, I think that's a minimum to 2 games. You can make it, boys. Come on.
Come on then. I'll put my team up then. I've got Ederson, Stones, Cancelo, and Diaz, plus Holding, plus Dallas, who actually got me a goal within the last game week. So
that hurt me,
yeah. So I was quite pleased that I got the goal here. Antonio, Grealish, and Fernandes. Son, I got him for Kane and Salah. So I'm still knocking around the sort of I vary between 800 and 1,000, and I just sort of move around that amount, bouncing around. Whether I make a good move or a bad move sort of generates that, but I can't really budge more than about 100 or so at the moment, and I'm sort of okay with that. Overhaul is going to be the biggie for me. I've got 19 transfers left. I'm not looking to change any of this lot. I'm certainly not planning to stick with 5 at the back post overhaul. So I'm just going to muddle through with that. And I hope Son gets me something, but the Spurs are looking pretty abject without Kane, and I don't know if he's going to be back until at least City or after that even. But it doesn't look like he's going to be available for the West Brom match, and certainly not tonight. Let's have a look at these fixtures. These are our last fixtures we've got before overhaul, so we can sort of assess our captains here. Hopefully I've got the right ones. So these are the ones that end on Monday the 8th of February with Leeds against Palace. They start on Saturday on the lunchtime kickoff with Villa against Arsenal. So it's Villa, Arsenal, Burnley, Brighton, Newcastle, Southampton, Fulham, West Ham, Manchester United, Everton. I'm not going to be dangerous here. I'm going to captain Fernandes against Everton. But there are options. Grealish against Arsenal. Arsenal are down to their third choice goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I mean, there was one cup game where he looked extremely suspect, wasn't there? So it could be lucrative, but a bit of a risk, I think.
The thing that why I might go for Grealish, I'm not suggesting Fernandes is going to be in any way dropped, but you never know. You never know. So Grealish, and when I say dropped, I mean rested just because of a hectic schedule. At least you'll know Grealish will play because you'll see the team sheet, and he is playing against Arsenal's third choice keeper. So that's the one I'm going for there. Antonio against Fulham is an option. For those that have Souček, he is an option. Palace and Fulham are currently the worst sides at the moment for conceding headed goal attempts. By coincidence, Souček and, as I'll talk about later, Bamford are amongst the best this season. In fact, Bamford is the best at headed goal attempts, and as we know with Souček as well, just from the eye test, I believe he's 4th all season in terms of headed goal attempts on target. So there's some intriguing captaincy options there for those that have Souček. Antonio is always a threat, I guess. Moving on to the Sunday, Tottenham against West Brom. Son on paper looks good there, but Leicester against Wolves. I guess Maddison's an option. Liverpool against Man City. Ooh, scary. I don't know who to pick there. And then Chelsea against Sheffield United. Those with a Chelsea defender, this could be an option. But yeah, for you, Son against West Brom, I guess.
I mean, I suppose I'll probably let the game tonight slightly influence me, but it will be hard if you see. I mean, especially as you said, getting to see the lineups is so key, isn't it? And if we see Son in there and the Spurs team hopefully looks adventurous, if that's such a thing, then it'll almost certainly be Son. But yeah, I mean, if I had a Chelsea defender, if I had Thiago Silva, and this is why I debated between Son or Thiago Silva for a long time. Ended up going Son for more out of fear, I think, than anything else. I'm actually kicking myself at the moment that I went that route. Obviously, I can't judge it until we get to the end of these set of fixtures. But yeah, if you gave me the 2 options right now, I'd probably take Thiago Silva for hopefully a 20-pointer there.
Right. The reason I'm optimistic about Son, and bearing in mind this is being recorded before the Chelsea match tonight, so Son may be injured by the time you see this. If Son is available for that West Brom match, of note is that he doesn't get a lot of small chances. He gets a lot of big chances, or rather he takes those big chances. So when he gets a big chance, he converts them. And West Brom are currently amongst the worst teams in terms of conceding big chances. So even if Spurs are looking awful, all he'll need is one or two big chances, which West Brom will give up to pretty much anyone, and then he'll take them because his conversion of big chances is so strong. Which is why I'm considering him, if he is fit, in possibly all the formats at the moment. I've got him in Sky. So there is optimism. There is optimism there.
Yeah, sometimes it is as simple as that, isn't it? I mean, fixtures can create form, and West Brom have generally been very poor, and it's a fantastic game for him. And Son is a fantastic player, as we know. So, that's why I probably end up that way, and maybe feel very differently about it after the game. So
I'm just going to go for that. Just go for the attacker and hope for the best. Now, the Monday match is Leeds against Palace. So a single match. I've got Dallas. He is my captain that day. You don't have any Leeds or Palace, is that right?
No, I've got Meslier.
Oh, you've got Meslier, of course. Yeah. So Meslier is your captain, I presume, by default. I imagine most people are going to only have probably one option. So whoever it is. Those with Bamford, if you do have Dallas and Bamford, as I was saying, Bamford's headed goal attempts he absolutely saw away the top there. And Palace are the most obliging currently in terms of headed goal attempts conceded. So that's one of those nice matches that you look for in fantasy football. You know, someone who's good at a particular player, particularly a particular skill, and then against a team that are rubbish at defending that particular skill. I think we're looking there.
Rafinha as well, I want to make that. He's been actually really good if people have got him. I mean, he's quite a differential. But
really good differential, yeah.
He's been fantastic of late, and he's even on taking a few corners, so...
I'm post-overhaul, I'll have a look. Rafinha is definitely in my thoughts, and especially... across all formats, definitely in Sky, because there's going to be some extra fixtures coming, and Leeds are just so attacking. I'm not sure I'm not going to keep Dallas beyond the overhaul, but I'll be looking at a Leeds asset, and maybe Rafinha, maybe Bamford. Okay, I've got this patchwork quilt of fixtures up here. This is the season ticker. So what I've done is, even though it says Game Week 24, this is like FPL. So thinking of it from Sky, this is essentially all of the fixtures past Game Week 22. The overhaul starts at the final game, the Leeds Palace match, Game Week 22, and then Game Week 23. There you go, your overhaul set, off you go. So that's what these fixtures are here. So what I've done here is I've put them in, I've sorted them by Fantasy Football Scout's difficulty rating. And what this does is, when you don't quite know the way the fixtures are going to fall, who you're going to captain on particular days, when you've got limited transfers, you don't want to be using transfers too much. So it pays to have some players in there that, if fit, you can play week in, week out, because they've got, on the whole, good fixtures. And there's a lot of days there when they arguably could be the best, the players from the best team playing that day. So, for example, looking at Game Week 27 in FPL, and I haven't looked at what it is in Sky. I presume that's Game Week 26 or so. See how it goes. Either way, it's Liverpool are playing Fulham that day. That looks like a great fixture for, say, Salah. Looking down the other fixtures that day, it's Manchester United are playing Man City, so that sort of counts those ones out. And then Newcastle against West Brom. It's looking like a really nice fixture then. So, but who are you going to captain those? Which players are you going to have there? So that's the kind of thing I'm looking at there, and you can see there with the Villa goalkeeper situation from post overhaul right up until they play Fulham. 7 matches down the line. They got great, really nice fixtures, and then they play Liverpool and City, and then in the mix they've got Everton, Manchester United, Tottenham, and Chelsea. It's not a great run there, so that could be a time to switch. And then you mentioned about Burnley as well. Around about that same time, Burnley have a much better run. They've got Newcastle at home, West Ham at home, Fulham away, Leeds at home, Sheffield United they finished the season on. So for those with lots of transfers, perhaps a sort of Martinez to Pope move. This is going to be dependent on certain match days, but these are the sort of thoughts I have about fixture difficulty. I mean, how much? Because I know Sky is different to other formats, so we have other considerations. But do you put any weight on this type of thing, especially when you don't want to use too many transfers?
Yeah, definitely. Generally, just want to go for the quality players, don't you? But there are certain brackets. I mean, if you look at Aston Villa there, I think they stand out to me. Now, I'm not factoring in their double game weeks here because obviously they could pop in at all different places and change the landscape. But if you look there, there's quite a big divide, I think, for the first half. I mean, they've got some, I wouldn't say easy games, but games that are blue on this ticker and look like they can score well.
Yeah.
And then around from 31 on here, Liverpool, Man City, they've obviously got West Brom thrown there, but then it's a terrible end to the season.
Oh, it is, isn't it?
So unless they've got some double game weeks thrown in there, which I think they might do, you could maybe look, for example, to come off of Grealish at some point during that run, and it could benefit you. So it's just things to look out for. There's a few like that. You say Liverpool's end to the season there. How's their league campaign going to go?
Yeah.
If we get to game week 31 there, where they're playing Villa, and they're still in with a shout, then obviously you might want to think about, similar to the City run we've just had. There's a nice run of games there where if they can sort themselves, I mean, obviously they've signed a new centre back, so this new guy, Olbach, who's only 8 million, by the way, if he's playing every game and obviously playing in that Liverpool team, you're going to get passing bonus. Suddenly we could all have Olbach in our team come game week 31. I think you want to have a few games to at least look at him. But there's fantasy football. The landscape changes all the time, innit? Who would have thought we would have John Stones in our team?
I know. And I look at the City fixtures there, and I mean, you know what you're getting there, but I'm reluctant to go fully triple City defence, but
they're tough games, aren't they? They're going to have more games added in there, but they are going to be tough.
I definitely am going to go double. It's whether I go triple or not, and it's the goalkeeper situation. I do look at that, and I think Martinez first off, and then possibly to Pope. I think that could be a nice move for me. I have to see. But otherwise Leicester as well after the Liverpool game, immediately after overhaul. This is the annoying thing post overhaul. The teams like Leicester, they've got Liverpool first, straight out the bat, and then they got this quite nice run of Villa, Arsenal, Brighton, Sheffield United, and Burnley before they play City. So that's like a really nice run to target.
Vardy's back as well.
Vardy would be a great asset there, and of course Leicester have got the better of City already this season, and then they have more great fixtures: West Ham, West Brom, Crystal Palace.
I wouldn't say Liverpool's a tough game at the moment either. No. So to be honest, it's
just the end. Manchester United, Chelsea, Tottenham.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing of most people will want Kane. We're not quite sure when he's going to come back. It's annoying because he's got Man City, then he's got arguably 3 half decent games there. West Ham's quite tough. But you could start, for example, I think we're starting with Bamford instead of Kane, who's got a nice run, or starting with Vardy if he's back instead of Kane, and then move later. But the thing is, you can only pigeonhole so many of these moves, in and pre-plan them, because obviously, I've already said the change in landscape. Then you get injuries, then you get all other stuff. So you want to look at where you can do some tactical swaps, yes, but I ideally have them as like this is the perfect world, what I would do, and it quickly changes from that.
It will quickly change, and
it's a good idea to plan out.
And the other thing is obviously the key thing for Sky managers is going to be the fixtures, the TV scheduling. It's going to be finding out who's playing what day. So, for example, you've got Leeds playing Palace going into overhaul. And these are the sort of fixtures you need to be aware of. We had it earlier in the season. It didn't pan out for those with, say, I got Zaha in for those 2 adjoining single game days for Palace, and then they had a good fixture after it. I think it was after it or just before it. So it was a nice time to get Zaha in. That was the theory. It didn't quite pan out, but usually in Sky, that sort of planning should be rewarded. But yeah, I mean, Everton, see, it makes me think about structure. I want to better move easily. I don't want to be making any 2 transfers to get a player in and have a make weight. So I'm looking at, say, Everton, for example, and Calvert-Lewin. He's got Fulham immediately. Then they've got the Merseyside derby. Anything can happen. Southampton, whose defence is in tatters at the moment. Chelsea's
single match day as it stands as well. I don't know if it will stay there, but at the moment it's on the single match day.
So Calvert-Lewin, and then after Chelsea, he's got Burnley, West Brom, Crystal Palace, Brighton. And then, towards the end of the season, apart from City on the final day, you've got some really nice fixtures. So there's opportunities there for Calvert-Lewin, and then possibly moving from Calvert-Lewin on and off to another player, and then perhaps going back to him. So bearing in mind, it's just that sort of non-super premium forward, and having that sort of third slot there. So you've got, say, Watkins at the moment. And it's looking at those sorts of players. Just looking down that list where Leeds are. So Leeds are a bit like Villa. They've got quite a nice post-overhaul run. And then from when they play City, Liverpool, Manchester United together, it just turns to something quite nasty. But
I'm not sure fixtures. I don't know if they affect Leeds too much, because you always feel like they'll go for it in any game. So you could probably still get points from the attackers, but you don't want to play your defenders in those games, do you?
No.
You could end up shipping 3 or 4. But sometimes that some of these teams, if you do want to cover them, there are other routes to go. I mean, Everton. This Olsen guy who's replaced Pickford, and again looked much better than Pickford. He's still reasonably expensive. He's the same price as Pope at 6.6. But let's say you want to cover Everton, but you don't want to use a forward slot. There are alternatives, I think, where you could say, well, I'll get Olsen, because he got loads of saves in the last game. Wouldn't be surprised if he still gets saves. And there's even the Brighton lad in goal, who I can't remember the name of at the moment. The one who replaced Ryan Sanchez. He's very cheap. I think he's 6 million or something. And obviously Brighton's defence has been fantastic. Yeah, he's bang on 6 million. So he's the cheapest starting goalkeeper in the game now. And he's on a run of, let me just read you out his last 5 points here. So 10, 9, 9, 11, 9.
With four clean sheets in a row, and that includes matches against Spurs and Liverpool. Says it all. The last time Brighton's beat Liverpool at Anfield. Can you guess the year?
No.
1982.
Jeez.
They featured Perry Digweed in goal, Steve Fozzie Foster, who was a star of Brighton and Luton, and I believe he got an England cap. He was in defence. I think we had pretty much half the Northern Ireland squad at that time, and but so we were playing the likes of Kenny Dalglish, Graham Souness and co. So 1982 that was, and same score, 1-0. So it was a surprise, but then again, Brighton's defence, they've had great underlying stats. They've just always been doing these silly, sloppy errors, but they seem to have got rid of those. And part of the reason was Ryan, really. It was expected goals prevented was awful with him, and with Sanchez, they're marginally better. So,
it's a short amount of data, but it does seem that a goalkeeper makes such a big difference in the Premier League, doesn't it? There's so many examples. Martinez is an obvious one. But just having a solid keeper just seems to change teams quite a lot of the time, doesn't it? Man United's worst run coincided with the time when David De Gea became awful. And suddenly he's back looking reasonably solid, and we're a lot better for it. Stuff like that.
But looking at the ticker, though, they've got Villa, Crystal Palace, West Brom immediately after the overhaul. And Leicester, Southampton. So you're looking at save points, and Southampton, that could be quite an easy one. Newcastle, they got this little tough run of Manchester United, Everton and Chelsea. Then it gets quite nice again before it peters off towards the end of the season. But there's some nice bunch of fixtures there where you would expect Sanchez to get save points. He's definitely the number one. When Ryan was there, it was, you thought, Ryan might get dropped for Sanchez, but now Sanchez is definitely there.
I think he's in that group. Let's say you do want to create a team with Salah, Kane, Bruno Fernandes, some City defenders, and you want Kevin De Bruyne. Something has to give, and if you're going to do that, there are a few players like Sanchez who, most people want Ederson. And that's probably the way I'll go. But Sanchez is a 6 million goalkeeper, so you're going to need a few of these dirt cheap players to afford that team. Because Kevin De Bruyne could end up being the top scorer from when he comes back to the end of the game. It could happen. And if you haven't got him, which I'm planning not to go, it could really hurt. So there are a few little names like that floating around. We already said about Rafinha. That could be there. There's Vestergaard, I like when he comes back. And some differentials. At the end of the day, if you do want to make moves, you were saying you're around that 800,000. I think you will continue to go up because you've got loads of swaps left. And obviously, we know that it's a bit of a tortoise and the hare situation in Sky. But if you want to make really big moves, then obviously differential scout. And Lewis Dunk is another one. He gets passing bonus for Brighton. He's looked very solid of late. So I do recommend jumping into the members area and look at passing over the last 3 or 4, because often these guys go unnoticed. There's even Fulham players that get passing bonus. Anderson got tier 2 this week, for example. I wouldn't go there, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal aren't a team I'm targeting at the moment at all post overhaul, but from game in FPL terms, game week 31, but essentially from the Sheffield United game, they had this great run almost towards the end of the season. It was Sheffield United, Fulham, Everton, Newcastle, West Brom, the Chelsea match, and then Crystal Palace, Brighton. That's a great run of fixtures there, and it sort of coincides when some of the fixtures shift for, say, the likes of Leeds and Villa. So Saka suddenly becomes an equation. Rob Holding probably won't be in my overhaul side, but he could be for that Sheffield United game and onwards, especially if Arsenal have are the best team on a particular day, or indeed have a single match day. Yeah, these are the things to bear in mind. We're going to be back next week with some clearer thoughts post overhaul. We'll have our drafts for overhaul as well. I can't quite get my head around it at the moment, but looking at this sort of thing helps me a tiny bit to the players to target. In terms of, so unfortunately we had to bring forward our recording of this. So I put a shout out for community questions just as we started recording. So unfortunately we haven't had time for people to get in touch there. But luckily Lee Williams, he brings up a question that you were talking about earlier about Rafinha. Is Rafinha a good solid Leeds option? What do you think post overhaul though? Is Rafinha? He looks attacking, getting the goals, but is that it really for him? He's not passing or tackling or.
Yeah, this is a really tough one actually, because I generally don't like those kind of midfielders that can get you the 2-pointers. I always like my guys who I can, they've either got set pieces, they've got penalties, they've got an avenue to bonus points to fall back on. And Rafinha doesn't necessarily fit that mould. However, of late he has been hitting those bonus tiers, similar to Saka actually, where Saka's suddenly started hitting them. He's obviously an eye for man of the match in most games because he's just stand out when you watch him. He's a bag of tricks. And he has actually been taking some corners as well. So the other part of me thinks I don't really want Lee's defence moving forward. Dallas has been great, but how many goals can he keep scoring? I mean, it could keep happening, but we have got lucky a few times. I think when we
look at these fixtures here that are coming up for the rest of the season, and that massive chunk from Man City, through to Tottenham. Really, it's awful.
Yeah, so I mean, Bamford is still the standout one for me, but the problem is he uses a forward slot, and that may not fit in with your structure and who you want to go to. I don't necessarily think it's a problem. I think you could just leave Bamford for the whole season. He's shown that he's going to end up being great value at 8.2 million. There's a lot of players that are also at his price, like Cancelo's 8.2 million, Gundogan's 8.2 million, etc. So I still like that, but I'm undecided on Rafinha. Obviously, warming to him at the moment. I'll just have to see how he fits into my structure, but he's certainly a consideration.
Yeah, good job you brought that up actually, because looking at the fixture ticker here, Leeds fixtures turn as City's get much better. Now, obviously, we're going to be investing in City, but when City's fixtures get better, we're going to invest in more City. And that value there for Bamford, moving Bamford to another City defender, or perhaps the likes of Gundogan, or those sort of slightly cheaper City players could be a good option. Anyway, lots for us to consider, and we're back next week for those overhaul. As Luke said, do have a look in the members area there, but passing stats, those types of things, tackling, and that'll give you an idea of some of the bonus stars. Obviously, those that we mentioned, those tier ones, and also the season ticker. I think that's going to be invaluable for this type of planning and trying to keep those transfers to a minimum. But in the meantime, Luke, thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with your game week in Sky and your tinkering of your post overhaul side.
Same to you, mate. See you on the next one.
See ya.